gas, electricity, rent, my internet bill? Where did all my money go? Oh yeah, shuttles. Whoops. So if you're like me, you probably spend a disproportionate amount of your disposable income on shuttles. Feather shuttles are really expensive and they don't even last that long. Plastic shuttles are much more economical, but they feel like crap. So at least for me, they are completely out even for consideration. In the last few years, a lot of companies have tried to come up with a Goldilocks shuttle, a nice little compromise that isn't too expensive, but still plays pretty well, and for the most part, they haven't really succeeded. They've failed to gain the mainstream adoption that these companies have hoped for. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing one of the latest attempts to create a more cost-effective shuttle, the Kawasaki King 500. Whoa, where did that come from? Thanks to Kawasaki for sponsoring this video. To check out where to buy the King Kong 500s or any other Kawasaki badminton equipment, head on over to their website. I'll leave a link in the description below. So let's have a look. They come in a standard tube of 12 and it's sort of like this hybrid shuttle. You have the feathers here like you would on a typical shuttle, but note that these are duck feathers, the ones that you'll find on budget shuttles, and not goose feathers, which are typically on the more high-end shuttles. But the interesting thing here is the shaft. You'll notice it's made out of a synthetic plastic material, whereas a typical shuttle will be a completely natural feather throughout the entire body. And so this is where the cost savings come from. Not only does it cut down on the price of material, it also makes the manufacturing process much easier. You can read more about it on Kawasaki's website, but the general non-technical overview of it is that it drastically decreases the steps in the manufacturing process, and then the cost savings get passed down to the consumer, resulting in a much cheaper shuttle. In the UK, the Kong 500 retails for about £10, and that's half the price of an Aerosensor 10, Yonex' budget option. And I was actually really surprised because a tube of these is actually cheaper than most, actually pretty much all plastic shuttles, although they won't last as long, but that's cheap for a tube of feathers. So the point is, they definitely do as promised on the price factor, but how do they perform? Let's go test it out.
Okay, so I'm back. I've had the chance to test this shuttle out, and I have to say, wow, this shuttle really impressed me. But before I tell you why, it's important to understand what it's competing with. So, generally speaking, there's pretty much 3 tiers of shuttle that you should care about. Plastic shuttles sit firmly in the low tier. They don't perform very well and playing with them isn't the best experience. They're only really suitable for the lower levels of the game and you won't see many serious players using them. However, to be fair, they are still a good option due to their good durability and low price. In the mid tier we have budget feather shuttles like the Aerosensor 10s. They are still a full feather shuttle, so much better than plastics, but they're built with budget friendliness in mind and not performance, so that stops them from being high tier. So they're pretty good for doing drills and training exercises with, but they could be a lot better and the durability on them frankly is terrible. Then in the high tier we have good feather shuttles, an example being the Aerosensor 10s. These aren't the best shuttles in the world, but the really high-end shuttles are more for professional players and tournaments. For the rest of us, the AS30 is pretty much the most popular shuttle since they have great performance at a reasonable price and reasonable durability. Even compared to the full feather AS10s, they are just such a pleasure to play with. They feel so great and every shot feels crisp and responsive. So in this landscape, as long as the Kong 500 is competitive with the mid-tier AS10s, then Kawasaki have carved themselves out a pretty nice niche. Remember that these cost half the price of the AS10s. So I had a knockabout with the Kong 500 and I was instantly impressed. If you've been playing badminton for some time, you can tell from the first hit how good a shuttle's going to be, and it was pretty good. The feel of hitting the shuttle was just like playing with a full feather. You got that crisp, full feeling as opposed to the dull thud that you get with plastics. And in fact, apart from a few minor things, you might not have been able to tell that it was not a real feather. But it is worth noting those minor things. Number one is that it's definitely heavier than a real feather, and I believe that's got to do with the plastic base. You can feel the impact of it when you play an overhead shot especially, and it's not unplayable, but it is noticeable. The other thing is that it doesn't decelerate as well as a real feather shuttle, and that might sound like a really minor thing, but the flight path of a shuttle is very specific. It comes off the racket at a very fast speed and then rapidly decelerates due to the air resistance. And I'm guessing again it's because of this plastic base, but this shuttle doesn't slow down as much, so when you're playing with the Kong 500, the shuttle path is slightly unnatural. But I do want to point out that I've been playing badminton since I was 10 years old, so I'm extremely fussy. But for the majority of my audience who are beginner to intermediate players, this is probably going to be less noticeable, if at all. And if you're playing with plastics, it's definitely going to be a huge step up. And in our testing procedure, we decided to play with plastics again for the first time in God knows how many years, just to see if our memory of what a plastic shuttle feels like was really as bad as it actually is. And yep, it was.
I'm so bad.
The Kong 500 compared to a plastic, it's not even comparable. This is so much better. So the performance is pretty good. It does the job it's supposed to do at a very low price. But in fact, that's not even where the Shuttle shines. Let's talk about durability. Holy crap, that's where this Shuttle really shines. It's like the Nokia brick of feather shuttles. Anecdotally, I can tell you right now that these are way more durable than the high-tier Aerocenter 30s, which are already a huge step up from the mid-tier Aerocenter 10s. And remember, this costs half the price of an Aerocenter 30, which is generally regarded to be the king of shuttles. But as an engineer, I didn't want to just go off my gut, so I took a fresh Kong 500 and a fresh AS30 and put them through a controlled stress test. And before we even get into that, just remember that the fact that these are even in the same conversation, considering the price difference, is already a testament to how great the Kong 500 is. So we first took the AS30, established a benchmark by hitting 100 clears non-stop and then 10 smashes. I've used the Shuttle a lot and the test pretty much went as expected. I started to feel a slight wobble around the 30th clear, and this kind of progressively got worse as it went on. By the last clear, it was damaged but still in a playable state. So we then did the 10 smashes, and by the second smash it completely gone. One of the feathers broke off, so it started wobbling crazily out of control, and at that point it was a dead Shuttle. We still finished off the 10 smashes, but after that, it was very difficult to hit with. We then did the same test with the Kong 500, and it surprised me to learn that it beat the AS30 really comfortably. By the 30th clear, nothing had changed, and even after all 100 clears, it still felt like it did at the start. We then did the 10 smashes, but it made it through the gauntlet just fine. Apart from minor fraying of the feathers, it still played and felt like it was new. What? And I'm pretty confident that if we did another 100 clears and another 10 smashes, it still would have been in a playable state. So for well less than half the price, it's at least twice as durable as the AS30s, maybe even 3 times. So final verdict then. Kawasaki have done a great job with the Kong 500. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. To be clear, this is not the best shuttle performance-wise. The AS30 is still going to be continued to use in tournaments and among serious players, but that's not what the Kong 500 is trying to achieve, so the fact that it's even in the same conversation as the AS30s is a testament to how good of a job Kawasaki have done. The actual goal for the Kong 500 is to be a much more economical shuttle for players who hate spending a fortune on shuttles, throwing one away after every game, or for beginner players who need a viable upgrade from the plastic feathers that they're using, and for that job it ticks all the boxes with flying colours. If you don't mind the subtle differences between this and feather shuttle, which I don't think is a big deal, especially for newer players, then this is an absolute bargain. You get very good performance for a fraction of the price, and it's effectively even cheaper because it will last so much longer than feather shuttles. So while I'd still stick to the AS30 if I was to play a serious game, I'm going to start using the Kong 500 wherever I can in my videos. The cost of shuttles racks up really quickly for this channel, so thanks to Kawasaki, I might be able to keep my internet on just a little longer. Thanks for watching this review, guys. I want to thank Kawasaki for sponsoring and making this video possible. I know I have a lot of good things to say about the shuttle, but it's my completely honest review. Kawasaki give me full control over these videos and it's a ton of fun to work with them. So thanks again to Kawasaki, and if you want to buy a tube of the Kong 500, head on over to their website. I'll leave a link in the description below. Also in the description you can check out the free 40-page Smash Secrets ebook, and even better, the link to my new Instagram profile. I'm going to be posting there a lot, so go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Big thanks to all my Patreon supporters, especially Jordan He and Sai. Subscribe to Swift Badminton School right over here, watch another video over here, and thank you for watching.